Vilnius Castle's National Cultural Reservation is a heart of Vilnius Old Town. Officially, it is the smallest national reservation within the borders of Lithuania. It was founded to protect heritage of Lithuania's history and its spiritual culture. Also, it was founded to protect Vilnius castles, their territory, and natural wonders within it. Also, it was founded to organize scientific researches and to use their findings accordingly. We are now talking with Vilnius Castle's National Cultural Reservation Manager, Audronė Kasparavičienė. Right now, we are standing in probably the most famous area within Vilnius Castle's National Cultural Reservation, Cathedral Square. A lot of people might wonder why such a highly protected area such as Reservation is located within the city center. Basically, this idea to create a reservation was born even before Lithuania became independent, during so-called Sąjūdis period. We know that this territory is where the statehood of Lithuania originated. Grand dukes had their residences here, and this territory was always somehow independent from the city. Back in the day, it was surrounded by canals. It had its own master, which was ruling this area independently from the rest of the city. And for many years, because of a certain political and geopolitical circumstances, this territory wasn't researched that much. Few of the most valuable objects within this area are obviously monuments, cathedral, so-called higher castle, Girdėjai Mansion, Three Crosses monument, and also a cultural layer of this territory is very valuable too. Right now we are standing at Cathedral Square, and this square was excavated a few decades ago. The remains of a so-called lower castle was found there, and by the way, they are marked on a pavement. The markings show where the defense tower and fortification stood many years ago. Cathedral Square was a part of a so-called lower castle. Lower castle was a complex set of different buildings, such as mansion, outbuildings, cathedral, fortifications, houses, priest houses, prison, the whole set of buildings, as I said, which unfortunately started to disappear by the end of 18th century, when the Grand Dukes were not residing here anymore. Everything under the ground, under the pavement, can be called an archive of Lithuanian history, a material archive. The shape of bricks, the different mortars used, can tell us a lot about Lithuanian history. In other words, the history had obviously been written already. However, we can always add some new facts and make it richer. During the excavations executed in 1986 within the territory of current Valdovo mansion, thousands and thousands of tiles were found, and nowadays it is the biggest collection of tiles in Europe.
Tūkstančiai įvairių radinių, tūkstančiai koklių. Koklių pati didžiausia kolekcija Europoje mes turime.
I would like to mention that this area used to look completely different at the beginning of its existence, within, let's say, 14th, 15th and 16th centuries. Basically, this territory was stuffed with buildings, and if you think of a period even before that, this territory was a swamp. Even nowadays, our cathedral is still standing in a swamp. this is why its construction is always in danger. As you probably know, its walls are covered in cracks, and a lot of different architects for many years were trying to solve this issue with the different methods. For example, Gusevičius was trying to reinforce walls with alder tree poles. And in 1939, when the cathedral was badly damaged by Vilnius floods, the Cathedral Rescue Committee was founded, and cathedral's walls were reinforced again. Even nowadays, we have a lot of problems with a cathedral's location, with cathedral standing in a swamp, and our scientists are trying to solve these problems. Vilnius Castle's National Cultural Reservation consists from two parts. The first part would be archaeological treasures, which are located around the Cathedral Square, a higher castle. It takes up the whole eastern side of the park. It stretches up to the Vilnia River. And there is the western side of the park, which is mainly within the territory of so-called mountain park. It's also known as a Vilnius Mound and its lower part. In this particular area, according to historians, so-called Crooked Castle stood, and the area around it was called a Crooked City. And unfortunately, at the moment, everything is under the ground and is awaiting the researches. Actually, the researches are happening right now, but the territory is quite big, and there are a lot of archaeological treasures just awaiting to be found. I would like to mention that archaeological treasures located within our park are very sensitive to any physical contact. Also, the landscape is sensitive too. For example, we know that Bekešas mountain is way smaller than it was before. So visitors of our park must be very careful, and they're supposed to respect this territory, not only as a relics of the past, probably the most important relics of the past, but also as a heritage of nature. They shouldn't climb the slopes of the mountains, and they should respect the plants. There are bicycle tracks in our park, so cycling fans can explore it by bicycle. However, I would recommend to explore our park on foot. In this way, you would be able to observe beautiful views opening from the hillsides of our mountains. You would be able to observe the Vilnius Old Town, all its churches, monasteries, all the different architectural styles. As we all probably know, Vilnius have been always attracting travelers with its beautiful views and its beauty in general. Nowadays, some of these views are taken over by modern architecture, but still, the beautiful views are visible from the top of the mountains. And even though some of the places are destroyed by the modern architecture, we are planning to create even more tracks on the hillsides, so visitors would be able to be introduced to panoramic views of contemporary Vilnius, and at the same time they would be introduced to a natural nature. One of the most common problems that we experience within our reservation, especially within the mountain park territory, is pollution. Some people are behaving in a really bad way, and although this territory really looks like a natural nature, some people leave rubbish, they break trees, they spray paint. That shows that some people really disrespect this area. And obviously, climbing on mountain slopes, driving cars and riding motorbikes within the park's territory really destroy our reservation's cultural layer. Also, during some events, some people get drunk, they leave rubbish afterwards, and as I said, they destroy trees. Some teenagers even hit the trees with their bicycles, and in this territory there is the oldest poplar in Lithuania, and the other trees, for instance maples, are very old too, and since they are old, they need to be constantly looked after, and some of the trees, obviously dangerous too. Some of the dangerous trees will be eventually removed, but for now they need to be looked after. Also, within our park's territory, visitors are not allowed to walk on the lawns. I have one very simple request for all the future visitors of our park. Please simply behave nicely.
Reikia elgtis kultūringai.